Hello there, and thank you for sticking with Business Today right here on KTN News. And we have here Dr. Francis Nangayo, who is the Senior Manager, Regional Affairs at Africa Agricultural Technology Foundation, AATF. Thank you so much for joining us.
Welcome.
All right. Now, let's get right into the conversation. We're speaking about technology and agriculture. And under agriculture, of course, there's food security and the food systems and also the food space. All right, before we even get to the technology part and agriculture, let us look at the food security in Kenya. And from where you sit, the food security situation in Kenya, if you look at it from when the year started up to now, because when the year started we were in the drought situation. Now, where we are right now, where are we in terms of food security and its impact?
Thank you very much, Kelvin. I think that the food security situation in Kenya has been a subject of great concern.
Yes.
Of course, riding on the impacts that came about as a result of prolonged drought.
Yes.
Loss of crops and livestock, and this was quite critical at the beginning of the year. But we had some rains, and some areas of the country have harvested. And the major or the breadbasket areas of Kenya, I'm talking about Uasin Gishu, Kitale, Trans Nzoia areas, are yet to harvest, but the prospects look good. But if I could perhaps just maybe elaborate, food security has many definitions, as
yes.
you and me know, but the common thread emphasizes three things. Availability of food, it must be available, and it must be accessible. It can be available but accessible to a few. That, of course, it's not food security. And the third point is it should also be affordable. In other words, let the food be available, let it be accessible, and let it be affordable to the common man. Yeah. Whether that is really the case at the moment, I can't perhaps say, because I've seen many people demonstrate with the sufurias on their heads, saying the prices should perhaps go
down
a little lower so that the element of affordability can be realized. Yeah.
All right.
And the government, I'm told, is working in that direction, so we can hope for the best.
All right. And in these three things that you've mentioned, availability, accessibility, and affordability, when you look at availability, are we there? Are we there? Let us even first of all look at the availability of this food. Yeah. Are we meeting the availability?
We are just going through the major cropping season. I think the projections are that we will have sufficient quantities when we harvest. And if not, also, I think the government has assured us that the necessary measures will be put in place to import and make the food available. Yeah.
All right. All right. Now let's look at climate change. Yes. And let's also look at its impact on food security, because climate change is such a huge influence when it comes to the way people harvest, the way people store their produce. So when you look at climate change, what is its impact on food security?
Okay. Climate change, many years ago, people used to think it was a theory, but we know it's a reality.
Yes.
Manifesting itself in form of frequent and prolonged droughts, for instance, and also unseasonable weather patterns. For instance, getting the rains when you perhaps were expecting it to be sunny.
Yes.
And that rain, in effect, going to west. And so when you take on that dimension of unseasonal weather pattern, then that impacts food security in the sense that then farmers may not plan and plant when they are supposed to plant because they don't know when it will come and when it will go away. And on the other hand, when we have prolonged droughts, that sometimes affects, actually that results in what is called crop losses. Farmers may have done their part, planted, and because we rely on rain, if rain goes away early, then the crop that would have perhaps grown and produced food just withers away. Yeah, so those are actually direct effects of climate change on food security. Yeah.
All right. And also, let's look at after farmers have planted, they have harvested, they have stored their produce. What goes into storage? Because also it's a huge part, because a farmer might have planted very well, might have taken care of the crop very well, harvested, but now after harvesting, the storage spoils everything. So when you talk about food security, of course, storage comes in very important. So tell us more about this. You talk about a very important segment of the food value chain. I mean, production, processing, and storage. All these must align appropriately for that food to be available when it is needed. And again, keeping the script on climate variability. I had highlighted the issue of drought. Climate change can also manifest itself in form of a lot of rain, maybe way beyond the normal rain patterns, causing floods. When we have also a lot of rain, you know, before the food is stored, there is the usual agro-processing routine of drying the food to the right moisture content. When we have rain, when we should not have it at that time, the food may not be stored or may not dry to the right moisture content. So when it gets into the store, it wastes away and it becomes even vulnerable to other challenges. You may have had food getting poisoned by substances called aflatoxins. That comes about when we have a lot of humidity, when it's moist, when it's wetter than it should, when you are processing food and you want to dry it for long. Okay. All right. Thank you so much for just giving us your perspective on this and also your expertise. Now, let's move and look at science, technology, and innovation, and being fronted by a recently launched ACAT, and the answers, which is also an answer to Africa's form of productivity challenges. So, how does science, technology, and innovation come in, and does it come in to make the situation even worse, or it's coming in to improve the situation?
Very good question, Kelvin. ACAT in full stands for Africa Conference on Agricultural Technologies. Organized by AATF and the partners that we work with, actually to provide a platform where stakeholders in the field of agriculture and food systems, and I'm talking about farmers, I'm talking about private sector, scientists, and policymakers, can use this platform to critically look at the pressing challenges around food security in Africa and consider options through perhaps science, technology, and innovation to address some of these challenges. So it's a platform we look forward to that it will bring together an estimated 300 participants from all those stakeholder categories that I indicated, and it will last 3 days, 5 days, and we should come up with action plans beyond that, that will be framed around addressing some of the challenges of food security in Africa. But you talked about the real import or usefulness of science, technology, and innovation in this. At ATF, we think that science, technology, and innovation speaks to the continental aspiration that is contained in the Africa Union Vision 2063. African Union, about 10 years ago, rolled out a 50-year vision called the Africa We Want, and an Africa that would be prosperous. And within that vision, Africa Union also articulates that science, technology, and innovation has a role to play. So we are riding along that by saying, why don't we go from just mere rhetoric to real action? So ACAT is one of those platforms that will be contributing and dialoguing around processes that can feed into that bigger aspiration contained in Agenda 2063.
All right, and also still on this, now why should Africa look at science, technology, and innovation, and with regards to agriculture? When you look at this, can we pick something from even our developed countries, like in the United States, in the other countries? Why should Africa really invest in the science, technology, and innovation?
I think that it is a very good question, and it is inevitable. Actually, society, and not just African society, society globally has benefited a lot from science, technology, and innovation. I will use an example outside agriculture just to drive this point home. 2 years ago, when the world got into the COVID lockdown, we wore masks, we were not moving, but that was not going to help. So scientists were challenged to do their best to address this problem. And I think 2 years after the lockdown, we saw vaccines coming up, and people were vaccinated, and that freed the world. And I think that is a very clear demonstration of what science can do, but that is in the field of public health.
Yes.
It is also the same in the field of agriculture. About 50 years ago, when the population of the world, especially in Asia, was growing, there was fear that perhaps population growth would outstrip food production capability. And many people feared, policymakers feared, and scientists working on wheat and rice were able to develop very impressive breeding programs that raise the productivity of rice and wheat and other crops in what is called the Green Revolution. And that changed the course of humanity in a way that we never have conceptualized at that time. And so from that experience, we think that the many problems we have in Africa around agriculture, which have gotten worse by the day and getting even worse now that we live with climate change, some of these can be addressed through science, technology, and innovation.
All right, so through this, some of them can be addressed. All right, still on the challenges. When you look at challenges when it comes to agricultural production, including technologies and innovations that you, from where you sit, you've been able to come across, how is ACAT going to try and even tackle these challenges? Because many a times we don't usually have the the right way of addressing such challenges when it comes to technology, when it comes to innovations. Someone comes up with something and then it's maybe brushed off, or maybe people say, okay, this one might not work. So how do you think ACAT, because it's going to be including stakeholders, players in this field, how is it going to address such challenges in agricultural production?
Yeah, thank you very much, Kelvin. Just maybe to emphasize, we live, or current times have been characterized by disruptions. Pandemics have disrupted the way we do things. Climate change is also doing that and disrupting our agricultural activities. And ACAT, we normally call it ACAT, so that we can say this.
ACAT, yes.
ACAT, yeah. We can say this more easily. ACAT conference is themed around addressing or fostering agricultural resilience through science, technology, and innovation. It will be a 5-day conference organized around plenary sessions that can pitch at very high level on how we can really foster resilience, agricultural resilience. It will also allow for panel discussion, expert panel discussions, where experts in various fields of agriculture, such as digital agriculture, such as mechanization, such as agro-processing, can sit together and dialogue that in the context of the challenges facing African agriculture and proposing practical solutions that can be targeted towards addressing these challenges. This conference, ACAT, will also give a platform for not just the experts talking. Sometimes people say, it doesn't make sense for scientists to just talk to other scientists. It's good to also get the farmers, the real farmers, also have their voice and explain. And actually there are sessions in this conference where farmers will also showcase their success stories, where the private sector, farmers produce, and this must cascade to private sector so that farmers are assured of a market. So that private sector operators, the youth, the women will also be there. So we think that it's a very good platform that will allow for us to showcase emerging trends in science, technology, and innovation. And we will also certainly have shared learning in agricultural technology.
All right, thank you so much. I think you will also give us the dates even as we finish. All right, now our last question and what we need to look at. When you look at the African continent, and especially also Kenya, why are we lagging behind in terms of embracing technology that has been proven to really help in agriculture production? What do you think is the main problem?
Yeah, you are right. Yeah, we are notorious for lagging behind, even when the technologies have been proven to work elsewhere. I personally think that Africa, and Kenya is included, in terms of innovative technologies that would perhaps transform the way we do things, particularly in agriculture. The major challenge has been the enabling environment. Technologies, for technologies to be harnessed and for the technologies to thrive and impact the people that need to use them. The government has a role, and the government has a role to create what is called enabling environment. And here I mean the collection of policies, laws, and institutional mechanisms that can allow agriculture and other enterprises to start, thrive, and then live sustainably. So I think we have been, African countries have been weak in terms of being quick to legislate, to develop policies, to set up institutions, and build the capacity of their people so that these then can be able to work at the cutting edge of science and technology to harness those technologies for our own people.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. And the dates for ACAT as we finish?
ACAT 5-day conference will take place starting from the 30th of October and will run until the 3rd of November.
Okay. This year.
This year.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us and giving us your expertise. All right. We've come to the end. That is Dr. Francis Nangayo, who is a Senior Manager, Regulatory Affairs at African Agricultural Technology Foundation, AATF. You've heard it from him. ACAT is the event to be at, and you'll get the latest when it comes to what you need to do in order for you to make sure that at least you contribute to bettering food security within Kenya. My name is Kelvin Nyakundi. Biu ya KTN is coming up next with Hadia Musiwa.